Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Starseed Speak. I'm here with Nicole Frolick. Very honored to have her as a guest today on my channel. If you've been following me for a while, you may have heard, seen, listened to some episodes of me on her Enlightened podcast, again, going way back. So it's really nice to sort of shift the interviewer chair over to my side. I have so much to ask you, and following along with your journey over time is really, you've always been such an inspiration to me. So I want to just share a little bit about you for viewers who may not be familiar with you and your work. Nicole Frolick is a practical mystic, experienced in intuitive life coaching, inner child healing, and the reclamation of one's secret self. Ah, yes, to uncover the hidden and yet most valuable strengths, talents, and untapped purpose of the soul. With over 25 years' experience in the realm of healing the mind, body, and soul connections, Nicole acts as a surrogate siren to co-captain your soul through a deep psychic descent in the uncharted waters of the unconscious mind. I love all this. Using ceremonial and intuitive methods through unique meditative experiences, she guides clients through the shadows of their pain so they may rebirth themselves and emerge as their most authentic self on the greatest path to their destiny. And that describes it so well. And your work, I feel, Nicole, has been spans so many layers of personal work and also helping others. I'm going to pause here and let you speak.
It's so good to be here, Rebecca.
um, yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting when I hear you read that. It's like I feel I feel like I've gone through my own rebirth several times just since
right?
even knowing you.
Yeah, yeah. What I mean, there's so many things coming through at once, so let me try and get linear here. I know one of the things, and I think Practical Mystic speaks so well to where you are now. And one of the things that fascinates me about, we'll dig deeper into the earlier parts of your timeline and how did you go from point A to point B, because I think that's so inspiring for other people on the path, right? But the plant medicine journey for you, and also I think you lead others through journeys of healing using plant medicine. Am I correct in that?
Yes,
Yeah.
I am now, I am now at the point where I am utilizing plant medicine, both cacao and mushrooms, to help facilitate very rapid transformation for people in their lives.
Wow. And is that something that you went through yourself, maybe firsthand to journey? And that's usually how it works. I mean, for me, everything I bring to clients is because I've been there first and it was so transformative. So was that when was your, can I ask when your first experience was with that?
Yeah, so it's interesting because my first plant medicine journey started with ayahuasca in
Wow.
June of 2022. And a week later, I did my first mushroom journey right after it, only because my first ayahuasca journey almost felt like a dud, even though it wasn't. It wasn't, but visually, it
Yeah.
was a dud.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I feel gypped. I need my visions. And my friend had been wanting to take me on a guided mushroom journey prior to my ayahuasca. And I said, no, I want to wait until I do ayahuasca first and then I'll do mushrooms. And so that was something that I felt very strongly I needed to go in that order. That was just for me.
Yeah.
But, when it comes to this path unfolding,
Mm.
you think you have a plan and you do. You have a bit of a plan, but the way that my path has best served me is when I'm on like the no path
Yeah.
in essence,
Yeah.
where this like invisible path just reveals itself every time I take a step forward. And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize I was stepping into this. And it's like as soon as my foot lands somewhere that I didn't know it was going to be landing, like all these new opportunities start popping up. It's almost like how in Avatar when it's the forest is dark, but every time they step on something, it lights up and you didn't
Yes.
know
Yeah.
it's exactly like that. And so
Mhm.
that's how I found my journey to unfold. And I feel like my path has revealed itself as I've had the courage to step into the unknown.
Oh, yes, this is so well said. Perfect mastery of the unmasterable. You know, we can't orchestrate it. The best things we can't orchestrate, and that's everything. As you're speaking, is like, yes, the path of surrender and just following the next. You know, if you're crossing a creek in the mist and there's one stone and one stone, you don't know the next and the next and the next. But it speaks very bluntly, boldly to self-trust as well, or um, what I call stepping into the life that wants to live through us. So,
Hmm.
so, and at what point, I related to something, I think you said, what was it, the ayahuasca that was a bit of a dud? Like, I've
Yeah.
never gone on these journeys with plants because I think I have read, I don't know, of course, if this is true, but like if you're already fairly psychic and out in that realm already, it may not be as blingy as you think. I don't know. I don't know that that's true.
I would definitely say I don't think that's true
All
because
right.
my mushroom journey was phenomenally visual. And then my
Mhm.
second ayahuasca journey blew my mind. That was probably my one of my greatest journeys ever in a sense of like literally I went through a wormhole and I didn't even know that that was possible for me. Visually, I literally went through a wormhole. So I think the reason why my first plant medicine journey with ayahuasca felt like a dud was because of what I was working with. My intention was help me open my heart so I can love deeper. And
Oh,
I
mm,
had so much unconscious purging that had to happen through literal physical purging
yeah.
that it wasn't about the visions. I literally just had to purge and purge and purge to clear out what it was. Sure enough, within 6 weeks to 8 weeks, I then started to see the benefits of my ayahuasca journey unfolding, where my dating life shifted and I started to connect with men in a completely new way that was much more deeply feminine, much more in resonance with what I was looking for in a partner. And so I saw the benefits of it happen, but ayahuasca will work with you in the way that you need to, not in the way
Right,
you want
right,
to.
right, right, right,
Right. And
right, right,
so
right. Yes.
for me, yeah, of course, I wanted like the life-changing visual experience. Who doesn't? But what I asked for and what I got was exactly what I needed and to exactly shift my life in the way that I wanted.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for speaking to that. You know, when the client work that I do, and probably this might be the case with you as well, I always hear from my guides in the aftermath, they don't always get what they needed, but they got what they wanted. Or, excuse me, no, they don't.
They
Reverse that. They don't always get what they wanted, but they got what they needed. So it's
Well,
kind of out of our
I got
control.
what I needed,
Yeah.
just not in the way that
The
I
way that
thought I
you
wanted it. Like the package didn't come exactly wrapped the way I was expecting.
Totally, totally. And that's, I mean, you could say maybe that's the case across the board on the journey. But
Yeah.
awesome. So, and now are you leading retreats with plant medicine? Is that correct? Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, did that light you up or what?
Oh my,
Yeah.
it's like my favorite thing to do. I do VIP day journeys with people and then like for people who are here in Colorado. And then I also
Mm,
do retreats for people who come to Colorado to do like the group retreats, which actually are
yeah.
so powerful when you're working in groups. I thought, I don't know, when I first started doing it, I was like, I wonder if it's going to be a weaker experience for people because they're not getting as direct one-on-one attention like you would with it's just me and them. But what I've noticed is that when you bring in all the, because I don't know, I'm blessed. I've had the most incredibly high vibrational people come to my retreats who are so ready for their transformation that when all these people get into
Yeah.
one room, it's like the energy is just so high that like
Yeah.
portals are opening and people are having like these crazy ET experiences. And I'm like, okay, groups are really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, and is that out of Breckenridge, Nicole, that
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
leading? Okay. That's so
Mhm.
interesting. So, yeah, I was an hour. Breckenridge is redolent for me. I know you've had it. Uber, that's a power state place for you on the planet. I was an artist in residence in their historic district for a couple years back, long in a different day of my life. But Breckenridge is a special spot for sure. And so, are you guiding people into the past to retrieve the future? or I mean, you're doing healing work, and it always, I mean, it as we've said, it appears differently for everyone. I think it can be hard to articulate what goes on in those journeys, but it's is the bottom line about healing and empowerment, or speak to that.
It's, you know, when you're on this healing journey, and I'm so curious to know what you have to say about this too, Rebecca, but I have learned so much because it's been almost 30 years of my own personal healing journey, but also almost 30
Yeah.
years of also working with others in their own journey. And I've I would never know this information unless I went through the journeys the way I have, but I'm starting to see all the shortcuts that are available. Like I'm starting to see the things that are unnecessary. It's and when I say unnecessary, I don't mean that they you don't need to do them or that you shouldn't do them, but sometimes we can overburden ourselves and overwhelm ourselves
Yes.
with too many details that you literally get lost in the sauce and the transformation gets diluted because all of your power is getting dispersed into too many areas that you're trying to tackle at once. Whereas
Mhm.
there's usually one or two key areas that if you can funnel all your energy, your power into that area, you can actually heal multiple things that have a trickle down effect from that in one go, which
Yeah.
it's like, why would I focus on a step-by-step healing, which I don't want to diminish. It is necessary to have that for various parts of your journey. But a lot of people that are coming to my retreats have done quite a bit of healing work already. You know, they've been doing some work. They're not like completely new to this. And so what I'm realizing is that I'm able to pinpoint where they really need to focus so that the thing that they think they're scared of or the thing that they think is really
Yes.
holding them back isn't. We can actually remove that if we don't even focus on it. We focus on this, and then that just naturally takes that other thing out of
Yes,
the picture.
100%. Yeah, what I hear you talking about is really getting at the root of the whatever the issue may be, like really reaching down in there and mm, giving those roots new direction to grow in, maybe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
And I
mm-hmm.
agree, we can get like that was well said, lost in the sauce. And where you're just like trying to almost like focusing so much on the problem that the solution is over here somewhere, and we have to like make room for it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
beautiful. So I have a bunch of questions here related to, your path, because I think when we share, I notice, I'm teaching a 10-week class right now, and when people share of their journey, we learn from each other, but it's so inspirational when we have maybe I see a lot of people moving through quite a bit of aloneness on the journey of awakening and ascension. It's just inspiring when we have a reference point for other people and where they've been. So I'm curious. One thing I wanted to know is what role maybe have galactic energies played either in your work with clients or in your work in your own life? Would you speak a little to that? That's always my pet, the ETs and all of that,
Yes.
galactics. You want to share a little bit about that?
Oh, they played such a significant role.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
very
yeah.
significant role. And continue to do so in new ways that I'm not expecting. Oh gosh, there's so many places I could go here, but a lot of, as you know, Rebecca, you've helped me a lot in my own healing journey, but a lot of my healing journey has been with my reproductive area. And I have actually called upon different galactic races, families to assist me in my healing journey. And they've been instrumental, whether it's been the Palladians, the Lyrans, like even reptilian, like a very, very compassionate reptilian guide to open my heart and allow me to also receive the healing. But one of the things that I've also noticed, and this has come through in my mushroom journeys specifically, is that I found that oftentimes, excuse me, I wouldn't just be connecting with ETs, I would be connecting with animal medicine.
Mm.
So that felt very galactic in nature in the way that it was presenting itself. So I would find that I would enter into a different dimension in my mushroom journey where I would see myself in a jungle where the entire jungle, the plants, the animals, the insects, and other interdimensional ET beings were all working on my womb space at once. And I felt them like moving things around, pouring in like this, whatever healing components they were working with. And it was coming from not just an ET race, but utilizing the
Yeah.
medicine of literally the jungle, but through interdimensional ways.
Yeah.
And to allow me to increase in my power to be an even stronger healer and to bring in more shamanic practices, I've had a couple of instances where my first instance was in a mushroom journey. I met a humpback whale in the water, underwater, where
Mm.
we would come almost nose to nose and we started spinning. And the humpback whale and I merged and became one. And I began to speak light language that was very high toned and very, I want to say, dolphin whale sounds within an hour of having that merging. And so it allowed me to start channeling different tones of the ocean, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
And so, and of course, because I work with a lot of Piscean energy, like a lot of 12th house energy. So it was perfect that that was what came through. And I didn't even know that that was going to happen. I didn't even ask for that to happen. It just showed up. And then I found myself then immediately as soon as that ended, I was then dancing with a shamanic plant medicine version of myself in a jungle. Her and I were looking at each other, and I recognized she was me, just in another reality. And we started dancing around a fire, and soon we became one. And as soon as we became one, I saw myself open myself up to the stars, and I saw my whole being merge into the sky, and I merged with all of the stars. And so it was kind of allowing me to bring in the celestial knowledge that is inherently, I guess, in me through different lifetimes. And then the other really cool experience was because I have such a Mayan connection.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Um, and a lot of my healing has happened through like Mayan
Hmm.
work.
Hmm.
Um, in one of my journeys, I found myself, and I don't ever ask for this, it just shows up. A black jaguar showed up in my visions and it was looking at me. And it did the same thing. It merged with me, this black jaguar, and I literally started to feel like a cat. I felt like I had a tail. My legs started to move and rub the way I've seen cats do. And I was like, this is so interesting. And what I understood is because I brought in the Black Jaguar energy, because my Mayan connection to want to take people into the underworld and help them rebirth themselves through transformation. So helping them go into the darkest parts, navigate the shadows, and then come out on the other side, as the Jaguar is not just a
Yeah.
land being, it's also a water being and knows how to rebirth itself.
Mm.
So it's just been interesting how like the ET connections have been cool, but I've actually been more interested in some of these other connections that I've never experienced before, but have impacted my healing work and my ability to work with others in ways I didn't even know were possible.
Yeah. And how it comes through you first, through your own openness to receive maybe the unexpected. And hey, it wasn't the package that I thought, it wasn't the journey that I thought, but it was amazing.
I
And
never knew that any of this was going to be happening.
yeah.
Like never,
So
never.
I know. I know. I love that. Um, Ken speaks to self-trust and openness on the path, which is one of the things that is so much our ally over time. You know, you speak well on your YouTube to, your Raw and Real series speaks to vulnerability. And I think that's one of our biggest strengths and gifts as humans. And I think you and I both do a pretty good job of modeling that to our the wider world. And as well, the relationship with self having to be our primary so that we can come into fuller relationship with other on the planet. Where I was going was the piece about vulnerability connects to that openness and the ability to trust, bearing the truth, speaking our it comes to me as speaking our secrets aloud, but it's there's something so needed. What else can you say about the journey of making? I know the Raw and Real series is not your newest work, but it's some of your most powerful work and relates to how you keep stepping into the next stone in the river and what's next, and opening to that. That it requires immense courage and vulnerability at the same time.
The vulnerability is key because the only way for you to surrender is to become vulnerable. And surrender is the absolute linchpin in anyone's healing journey. Like, if you are not able to surrender, you will never experience the capacity of miracles.
Mhm.
Um, and what
Yeah.
I've realized is over the last couple of years, I've started to see patterns that emerge, that when they're emerging, I know miracles are coming.
Mhm.
And it's one of those things where obviously for vulnerability, you need to connect to your feminine energy. It's a very feminine energy that so many of us, men and women, struggle with. It's been one of my hardest states to embrace because I've always wanted to control every outcome, every direction, everything that comes from the abuse in my past, where that Raw and Real series was birthed from.
Yeah.
But learning the power of surrender is where I've had my most powerful experiences. I think, yes, surrendering has helped me heal sexual abuse in under 4 months, from remembering it,
Mhm.
which I think is very rapid for healing any kind of abuse. But it was possible because of my ability to surrender to the fear, to surrender to the unknown, to surrender to emotions I was so scared to feel. But
Mhm. Mhm.
on
Mhm.
the flip side, it's also allowed me to awaken my Kundalini energy. It's allowed me to tap into a frequency that now I can heal through pleasure, and I can heal through joy and pure bliss. Um, Other doorways have opened up that are options. There's not just one way. It doesn't have to be, the healing
Yes.
doesn't have to be so difficult and so sad. Not that there isn't value in that, there absolutely is. But when you go through that, then you get to experience the polarity of that. And I think, I'll share a story of one of my second ayahuasca journey. I always, the one thing that is so important whenever you're doing any type of plant medicine work or any kind of really deep healing work, regardless if you're using plant medicine or not, is you need to know your intention. Your intention has to be very dialed in, and it has to be like, the more precise and accurate your intention is with what you're needing, the greater the result in your experience or your healing. And so going into my second ayahuasca journey, I had no idea what my intention was. Usually I'm like, I know what it is. It's very clear to me. And I'm preparing weeks, if not months in advance of going in. And this one, I wasn't concerned that I didn't have my intention, but I'm like, why don't I have my intention? And then we get to the retreat, and I'm talking to the shaman, and and I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay. And so I go to the mat to sit down before the ceremony begins. And I'm like, wow, I really need to tune in because I need to have my intention. Right. And so I sit there before everyone starts coming into the ceremony room, and I just kind of close my eyes and I do my thing to tune in. And all of a sudden I was overwhelmed with tears of just fatigue. And I'm like, I'm so tired of needing to control everything in my life. I am so tired of trying to do this and do that and have it all figured out. And I said, I surrender. And I said to Mother, whatever you want to do with me tonight, I'm yours. I'm surrendering. I am so tired of being in control that I want to give everything to you. I'm going to trust that you're going to take me wherever you need to take me. And if you want me to throw up all night, I'm going to throw up all night. If you want me to dance all night, I'll dance all night. Whatever you want me to do, I will follow you willingly, openly. And it was just like this release just came through me. And from that journey, within 15 minutes of taking the brew, I started to slip into, I started seeing all these light codes starting to come to me. And I saw my body, she was showing me how she was breaking down my body to rearrange me, to break me down, I guess, in a way that was going to help put me back together. I don't know how else to describe it, but
Yes.
um, within about 30 minutes, I realized I had all of these high level lights flashing past me. I saw hieroglyphs of different colors. I saw light language symbols. I just saw everything flashing by me. And the next thing I realized, I'm like, I'm in a wormhole. And I was going at rapid speeds. And I'm like, I have no idea where I'm going. And I ended up in some AI reality where I
Mm.
was hovering over this building that and saw a conveyor belt that pulled out of the wall of the conveyor belt a, a rectangular piece of plexiglass that had the side profile of my face on a picture inside of it. And it scanned it as it pulled it out of the wall. And I thought, why am I being scanned in this AI reality? And all of a sudden, I heard a
Mm.
voice and it said, we don't have much time, Nicole. We've been waiting for this moment. And it was some
Yeah.
sort of galactic version of my team speaking to me. And I had basically been pulled out of the matrix, reminded of the work that I'm meant to do here and why I went in with the programs that I went in with. And then I was somehow walking, I was let to go on my own like pathway. And I walked down this hallway and entered into a room. And I realized I was in a room of all my programs. And
Oh my. Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, if I'm outside the matrix and I'm in the room of all my programs, then can I pull the programs I don't want anymore and start putting in the programs I do want? And sure enough, I'm like, you know what? I'm done with this program of that. And let's put in this program of this. And I started pulling within 3 weeks of that journey, my life started changing just like
Mm.
that, all in
Wow.
alignment with these programs. And so I would have never known that was even possible to experience, but that's what Mother Ayahuasca decided to do with me when I surrendered to her. And I'm like, oh my God, her plan is way better than any plan I ever had for myself. But this was the power of surrender. And it was one of the most powerful journeys for me in seeing like what is actually happening. I literally like broke the fourth wall. I saw that none of this is really real, so to speak. But to
Yes.
experience it and to be able to like revamp it and then come back into this body, it was it was amazing. And so from that, I really learned that when we are capable of fully surrendering and trusting the medicine to do what it needs to do with us, and whether it's the medicine of plants or you just want to work with the medicine frequency, no intaking of any kind of
Yeah.
plants, because you can do that as well. That will equally be just as strong. You just have to surrender. And that surrender is what opens up any and all doors of possibility for you that you have yet to even know were possible.
Thank you, Nicole. Really poignantly spoken, elegantly said there. Um, yeah, surrender.
I don't know if I
All
answered
about
that
that.
question
It was
correctly.
so perfect, but we got what we needed there. So so yeah, the piece about surrender, and I'm taking that in as well, because I mean we all have a version of like I want to control the outcome, or I want to even you spoke to the fact that intention is really so imperative on the path, but also to lighten up on that a little too. What's the potential when we open it to the universe, or in your case, Mother Ayahuasca, spokeswoman for the universe. Um, yeah, it's so big. So I watched a video of yours from, I think it was August, and you talked about, this is going into the power of intention with sacred sites, the medicine we're speaking of with plants, also the medicine available to us through sacred sites on the planet. Now, a few things spoke to me in that. I think it was a 35-minute video. Do you know what was the name of that? Do you remember? Um,
Using, I think it was preparing for miracles or using sacred sites for
Maybe,
miracles or
yeah,
something like
thank you.
along
I'm
that
sorry I
line.
don't remember the exact title,
Yeah.
but I know you're with me here. So I love what you said about, you don't have to go to Egypt, you don't necessarily have to go here, there, or there. I mean, you can do that. That could be a massive activator for you. Like some of my most powerful things go on when I'm journeying, I'm being journeyed to places through the metaphysical physical internal planes, the quantum reality, to various sites on the planet. But speaking to, it could be like your spot in Breckenridge, where you've had massive, awakening spiritual experiences there that up leveled your whole life. That could be for me living here in Alaska. So I love that. That. How does that work for you in your mind? Can you unpack that a little bit?
Well, there's a few things here. So obviously, we know that there are many different sacred sites around the world that are considered source points on Earth that have a certain vortex of energy that when you go there, your ability to heal is amplified. But there are other factors that can enhance that. And there's a reason why people experiencing miracles at different sacred sites and all that. However, you can do the same really anywhere in the world. And in fact, you could create your own sacred site in your own backyard, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Um, and you would do so in the same way that the ancients have done it, and anyone else who's come before us on this planet, is that you bring your intention to that area of land, wherever it is, and you bring in the intention. Maybe you pray, maybe you meditate, maybe you bless the land, you bring offerings, whatever it is. And you can actually create with Mother Earth a new source point of energy that starts to build healing. The reason why some of these sites are so powerful is because over time people have gone there and they've prayed and and
Yes.
miraculous things have, and
Yeah.
so that energy just keeps getting imprinted and imprinted into the area. And so you can do that on your own. But what can also amplify the area that you're working with is not just the location, but understanding what sky you're working under as well. So knowing the celestial alignments that you're working under at the time that you go to use that site or that location can also amplify your ability to produce miracles for yourself, amplify your energy healing experience. And so, using specifically the sun and the moon were very important luminaries that a lot of the ancients would utilize in the sky, and would wait until certain, like when we think about like the equinox, right? With the Mayans and the pyramids, with a certain way, like the sun would hit the pyramid and they would know, like, and that would open up a certain portal of energy. You can do the same thing with the moon and the sun. I've done it with my own birth chart, and I see like where certain positions of certain planets or luminaries in the sky and how is it lining up in my birth chart to amplify exactly what I want to do. So obviously you want to know some astrology, or you need to get an astrologer's advice for
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
But then also, again, your intention is one of the most powerful things you have as a human. Our emotions that fuel that intention can literally move mountains. And so when you bring your intention to the location of wherever it is, and again, it could just be in your own living room, it could literally be in your own living room. I have, like, for instance, okay, my meditation cushion, it's a big round meditation, like flat cushion. And then I have another cushion that I put on top of that. anytime there's animals around, if like someone brings their pets over, there's dogs, they all want to lie on that
Right there.
cushion, right?
Yeah.
And so it is because like I've just imprinted so much cool energy into that stuff. Like, and so it's there. So it's the kind of same thing. It's why people will imprint it into like amulets or certain pieces of jewelry or whatever it might be, that will give the jewelry power. It's not so much that the jewelry itself is powerful, though it could be, but
Yeah.
what intention are you imprinting
Yes.
into it?
Yeah.
So all of those things can be very valuable in creating your own sacred site and source point on this planet Earth for your own healing.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, it speaks to me of the power of energetic resonance and, as you said, intention. And then, I was teaching in my class, I would say, we're building bridges back to ourselves, but really we're building bridges back to the universe because we are that. And we have the
Yeah.
power to draw upon, beyond the physical plane, beyond the spatial arrangements and the time coordinates and these things, to draw anything we need to us through consciousness. Is my experience.
It's
Yeah.
my one of my first mentors was my naturopath, and I found her when I was 20. And about maybe I want to say 6 or 7 years ago, I reconnected with her back in Toronto. And it had been like a long time, like 15 years since we had
Oh,
seen each
wow.
other. And we went for lunch, and I was telling her how I was going to be going to Sedona. And I was going to Sedona to meet a bunch of people who like had like, like Tyler and Aaron from Journey to
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Truth,
yeah,
a
yeah.
whole bunch of them. And we had all rented a place in Sedona. And I was like, yeah. And I was telling her how, yeah, I can't wait to go visit some of the vortexes that, everyone speaks about in Sedona. She goes, yeah, Nicole, those are cool, but you'll know you've leveled up when you are the vortex. And I'm
Right.
like, oh, yeah,
Thank you.
thank you for humbling me once again. And she was so right, like, and that's how like literally, that's why when people walk into your field and they're just like, all of a sudden their energy shifts, or they feel really good when they're around you or whatever, you literally can become the vortex.
I love that. Oh my gosh. So, and speaking back to your journey, you're talking about your naturopath and you being, in your 20s, early 20s. Was astrology and like tarot kind of your inroad into the space of great woo? I mean, like, how did you, I mean, I have a sense that you were, you know, the indigo child in the family and the typical, maybe if I could say, typical star-seeded child who was going to be on a different path and grow into the path of the healer and so on and the guide. But like, what was your inroad early on in your 20s? Or does it precede maybe your 20s and your healing path?
It
Like,
precedes my 20s.
yeah.
Um, I was 17. I had just come back from spending 3 months in Europe, is living in Switzerland. And while I was traveling, I went to many different churches. The parents of the family that I stayed with, the mother took me to a lot of different churches. And I really got into Gregorian chants. And so when I got back to Canada, went into the CD store, as we had back then. And,
Right.
and I was like, let me just listen to, I saw like some Gregorian chant CDs. And I'm like, oh, let me listen to these. And I was like, oh, and I just felt like I was being transported. And so I was like, this is what I want. And so I bought one or two, and I would start listening to them in the bath or just when I was lying on my bed. And unbeknownst to me, I was starting to like have very deep meditative experiences where I was no longer in my body. And so Gregorian chants were actually my gateway to open me up to meditation. And once I found my naturopath at 20 and she started to do work with me, that's where that started to like open up the gateway where she started to do past life regression and taught me
Oh,
how to use
wow.
light. She taught me how to bring light into my body and to fill my whole body, to expand it using light, different colors of light. And so that's how I started. I've been woo since 17. So
And everyone out there, we say woo with the greatest affection.
yeah.
Yes. Greatest affection. I love that. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, because when I look at my path, I was not. I was very much against or not against it. I was just like, oh, what's that? I don't. ETs
Well, I
and
think
like,
because I was raised Catholic. So I was just very
mhm.
about Catholicism and religion well, not religion. I was actually fascinated with other religions. I wanted to learn.
Yeah, yeah.
But Catholicism, I just was, it really turned me off. Well, I mean, for good reason. But yeah. And so kind of, I was like, I want to carve out my own path of spiritual
Mhm,
connection. And
mhm,
so, yeah,
mhm.
Gregorian chants was the way it opened up for me.
You know what I love, and this is such a teaching moment here when there are so many entry points. Like there's no wrong way because your unique, your deep self, your higher self is going to show you the way, and it's not going to be necessarily like anybody else's. And there's so many, it can be, very circuitous and maybe
Yeah.
not in a straight line, or maybe for some people they move into this, more spiritual plane, or maybe have to move or choose to, maybe they had something they couldn't pin down happen and they kind of run away for a while and we come back. But it's all in there in the soul's code, I feel like there's so much is being activated now. I mean, my big activation was back in 2012, and I think a lot of people maybe shared that. Um, so let's go back to that. I love that 35-minute video, by the way. You talked about the connection of relationships to healing, and the contrast with that disease to relational maybe issues. Can you say a little bit more about that? I feel because for me, one of the big central themes I think for all of us is healing relationship with self, thus healing our world. Again, bridging back to self and also the universe, the cosmos. But the role that relationships play in our well-being. Um,
I mean, healing your relationship with yourself is of the utmost importance. You must heal that first and foremost before you can heal any other kind of relationship. Um, and of course, your relationship to God, source, the universe, like all of that. Um, but what I think happens so often on this journey, especially because the spiritual journey in particular, coupled with healing, can be quite lonely because you don't have a lot of people that you can talk to about like what you're experiencing or what you're interested in. And so it becomes isolating. And so you end up doing a lot of work. And I know a lot of people find themselves maybe just only having online relationships predominantly. It's very difficult to build and have literal relationships, physical
like
relationships.
physical in the flesh, yes.
Yeah, in the flesh.
Yeah.
And it kind of, the excuse is, well, they just don't understand me. And I understand, believe me, I understand that one. But what I've learned is the ability to heal is so deeply intertwined with our relationships with others that you can only do so much with yourself
Yes.
and get so far with yourself
Yes.
before you stunted your actual growth. And you cannot go further until you're willing to actually bring people into your journey and allow them to work with you in your healing. And when I say work with you, I just mean have relationships and
Yep.
allow the work that you've done on yourself to be explored in different ways and integrated, because the integration actually can only go so far with yourself. Where you start to really hit new highs and levels is when you're starting to integrate it with others in your life. And I know that that can be very daunting and that can be very scary. Trust me, as someone who, has not had well, I've had a lot of friendships and all that, but like romantic relationships has been been something very difficult. But even, I will say now, exploring a new relationship with a man, I have wanted to run away and say, no, screw this. This is way too much work,
Too
like
hard,
it
too hard.
shouldn't, it
Yeah,
shouldn't,
yeah,
it
yeah.
shouldn't be this hard, whatever. And not to say that it is hard. It's like, it's almost like I have an unrealistic expectation of relationships outside of the one with myself on how they're supposed to go. And it's because you get too used to your own world. And it's like,
Right?
no,
Yeah, I can relate to that.
there's a little Achilles
Yeah.
heel there. And so I've actually had to have multiple conversations with myself. It's like, no, you're staying and you're going to work through this. And it doesn't mean you stay in something that's really not good for you. But I
Yeah.
mean, you've got to be willing to work through some of the issues and see where it gets you. Maybe it's going to get you somewhere even better and you can overcome something. But you won't know unless you try. And so I found that everything stems back to relationships. So, for instance, when it comes to physical issues with my womb space, all of the reproductive areas were either my relationship with women, particularly my relationship with my mom, and how I
Mm-hmm.
saw the relationship between my mom and my dad was deeply affecting my own relationship with my own femininity, and me being a woman. So therefore also affecting how I actually my relationship with my body, but then also my relationship with my dad, just in how, like, okay, if I don't work for myself, if I don't make my own money, if I don't do, then I'm gonna have to succumb to some other man's power, and he'll be able to tell me, and he'll have if you hold he who holds the purse strings holds the power, was what I saw in my relationship, in my family dynamics. And so I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, so healing my relationship with my father started to also heal my relationship with, oh, I don't need to have control, and I can surrender, and I can allow someone to help me out when I need help, and I don't have to do it all on my own. And then also
Mm-hmm.
healing my relationship with my sexual abuser, even though he had died before I ever remembered that I was sexually abused. Um, like healing that was also healing my ability to be intimate with men, and how I approached sex in general, and how I approached my ability just to be intimate on all levels in all my relationships. So it's like, wow, like, wow. And so while I'm healing all of that, I'm also healing my body. So through healing my relationships with people, I'm healing physical issues. And that's what I see the most when people come to me and I'm looking at their body and their physical ailments. A lot of it stems back to relationship issues with either the mother or the father or a brother or an uncle, or,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
partner or whatever it is. And so, yeah, learning to heal relationships is extremely important. And you can't heal all relationships on your own.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. It's such a part of being human. And sometimes if we've had none of us maybe were modeled perfect relating habits or attachment style, security or so. So we have work to do in that area, but it can be such beautiful and fulfilling work too. I really related to what you said, like, oh, I don't know. I could just leave this this two thing and just do my own thing. But the triggers have so much medicine for us, and it's how we come to love and unconditionally love. Maybe through the lens of other, we may be coming into a deeper relationship with ourselves. Like you said, we cannot do on our own. We're here as soft, squishy, tender, vulnerable humans, and we need the others. So
Yeah.
been quite a teaching for me as well. Is there anything you want to say on, masculine, feminine energies? I know that could open up like a huge thing, but like, do you have anything that's like sort of present in your awareness these days around that equation?
I mean, it's so, you know, for anyone out there whose default is naturally your masculine energy, um, like when I was just talking about with healing through relationships, one of my biggest needs, like my inner child's needs, was to know that I am supported by others, like to know that I don't have to do it all on my own. And it's exhausting to do it all on your own and to not know that there isn't anyone you can lean on or trust. And as I as I started to ask people to come help me and lean into their support, especially even in my business. For instance, my first retreat, I hired my girlfriend to come help me facilitate. And she had held like 20 retreats around the
Oh,
world,
wow.
like
Yeah.
Ibiza, Bali, New Zealand. And so she came to help me hold my first one. And I had no idea what it was like to have someone who knew what I needed before I even knew what I needed.
Mm.
And I'm like, "Oh, you've already done it?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, it's already taken care of. Don't worry, you do it." I'm like, "Oh my." And it allowed me to become even better in my role that I was meant to be at the retreat. And so all of a sudden, I started to
Yeah.
receive this healing at my own retreat just from her,
Just
you
from her
know,
being support.
being my,
Yeah,
yeah.
support.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I am so much better when I am supported as opposed to just
Um,
trying to do it all on my own.
uh,
And I was like, wow, it really speaks to us needing one another, like, yeah, no, it shouldn't be alone. And then never mind just the, I can let go, like everything, like my nervous system was like, oh, we don't have to be on guard. We don't have to have it all like ready for the next thing. Like it was just so being willing to drop into my feminine energy allowed for a masculine support system to come up behind me in the form of another woman, but
yeah.
that then allowed me to receive a healing and then see the power of me surrendering even more to my feminine and like the also the power of relationships. And I was like, it was just, yeah,
There was a lot in there, right? Like
there's a lot in there. And so I think depending on if you're someone who leans more, if your default is more your feminine and it's not your masculine, then it's going to require you to be courageous enough to take action where you're not sure what you're doing, but also to know that, you know, as you maybe call in people to help you take action, like there can also be that support in that way. But like it's one of those things where our default, it's easy, but it can quickly exhaust us. And the thing that is uncomfortable for us is likely where we're going to excel and shine our brightest. And so being willing to find that space, whether it's your default is your masculine or feminine, to lean into that other discomfort is where a lot of magic lies. And then learning the
yeah.
integration of the two energies and how you need both to really execute what it is that you're here to do.
Mhm. Thank you. Yeah, powerfully rendered there. So well said. So this is coming up intuitively from the audience. Have you ever had any experiences in a spaceship?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if that's it. No, sorry, like left field, left field. Um, so it is. Anything you just want to say briefly about that? Was that something that feels like ripe to share?
I,
Um,
I had a very strong healing with four different beings and an archangel, Archangel Gabriel, actually. Um, very much a heart healing came
mhm,
in, interestingly enough. And so I was on a ship. I've also a lot of my ship experiences are more in my dream world, where I've been on a ship traveling through the Milky Way and looking out I guess, the windshield, for lack of a better, I don't know what you call
what do you
as
call that anyway?
a
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
windshield,
yeah.
and seeing all this oil like splatter over as we're going through the Milky Way, and we were approaching a planet that was cloaked and we had access to it. And so it was another Earth-like planet that was cloaked, and it was cloaked so reptilians wouldn't be able to find it. And I
Mhm.
just remember waking up from this dream going, well, that obviously doesn't exist because there's no oil in space. Like that was a total dream. And I was telling a girlfriend about it, and she sends me this article from a
About
science journal
oil in
about how
space.
there's oils in the Milky Way. Like, and I'm like, what?
How about
So,
that?
so yeah, so I know that I'm traveling. I traveled to this Earth-like cloaked, and then so Tony
Yeah,
Rodriguez.
yeah.
So I had actually told him about it, and he's like, "That's true." He goes, we've traveled to these cloaked Earth-like planets, and they're cloaked so that reptilian and other, I guess, nefarious type
Regressives
races
don't
cannot.
intervene there. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, wow, thank you. Thanks for playing along with my that question. Yeah, thank you. My audience is very into that. that arena. So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask that. And as far as I know, you are so tuned into astrology. I'm curious if you have a sense of what anything potent we should be looking at collectively right now or tuned into. There's like probably 5,000 things, but um,
So I'm gonna, okay. Yes, we're heading into very volatile times
mm,
astrologically. And I don't say that to
mm.
scare anyone. I say that to just be prepared for what's coming. It's a cycle that we're meant to go through. There's no way of really getting around it. We have to go through it. And of course, the level of it can be determined to be a little less or a little more, depending on how we collectively choose to go through it. Um, but it's coming. But what I will say is that the reason it's happening this way, and I know so many are like, I don't want war to happen. I don't want, like, why do we have to do that? And trust me, I would love for that to not to be the case. Um, but what I am understanding is that whatever is ahead of us is to prepare us for more empowerment. I had a dream a week or two ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And I don't know if you want me to share the dream, but it felt kind of like a
I think it's
premonition.
relevant.
Um, and I'll say this, I think that whichever, because we're kind of recording this before the election, so I don't know how this is going to happen. But
Mm.
my sense is that no matter who wins, it's going to be a volatile future ahead of us. And I think that there are some people who believe, well, no, Trump would never want war. He's going to avoid war. He was the most peaceful president that we had, in a sense of like no new wars were started, wars were ended. Um, but I was shown a dream where I was in a city with a girlfriend, and I was shown the energetic side profile imprints of RFK and Trump in this city. And I think they were either speaking or sending or giving a message or a rally. I don't know what it was exactly, but a lot of people had congregated for that to listen. And I saw a very 9/11-esque event occur, where dust clouds started to cover over the buildings and started to come towards us. And everyone started, like, it was kind of like a little bit of an Armageddon kind of movie type energy, where people were scared. Obviously, they're like, what's happening? And so my friend and I, she was trained in the military. And so I followed her, and we were going to like some kind of underground area, bunker. I don't know what it was. But what I got from the dream was that if he wins, there may be a domestic attack on US soil that will force his hand to go to war, even though he doesn't want to. And that is why we will likely see war on both sides. But I did get, though, that it would reveal truths behind the architecture of that event, and how it would expose the the other side that has always been in power to reduce their
Yeah.
power and put more power in the people. So even though it looks like a bad event, it has a very positive outcome in the end. And I just saw that it was very empowering to the people, more truth, more disclosure, more everything that we're looking for. But that's kind of what I saw. I don't know. I don't know if you've gotten anything, but I know astrologically we're in for it. Like, it's coming. I just don't, I, Mars in Cancer, which is what we're going to see. It's
Mm.
in Cancer right now. It'll leave Cancer November 4th until December, no, sorry, until January 6th. So we'll have 2 months where it's out of Cancer. But as soon as it comes back into Cancer, January 6th of all days, until April 25th, it Mars is not strong in Cancer, and it will increase this energy of wanting to protect homeland, to protect like patriotic countries, to protect children, to protect the home, to protect that kind of energy is going to be spurred up in the people, because Mars represents well, it represents the military and the police, but it also represents the people when it comes to nations. And so I I I just, when you look at all the cycles, it's coming. I say it in a way that prepare yourself, don't be alarmed, but know that stand your ground, but it's all happening for you to find your own power within you and what you're willing to say yes to or no to, and it's going to have a positive outcome in the end for all of us.
Yeah, as you were speaking, I keep getting that a lot will be revealed in any case. That, we think of that as all being, like you're saying, it's not all, doom and gloom. There's, if we could say, a silver lining, so to speak, if you look at the bigger picture. So, yeah,
Yeah,
thank
because I
you.
do feel like we're going into very good times. But it feels like there's like some big bumps in the road as we get there, like, but it
For
doesn't
sure.
feel like
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like we're going off course, or we're heading into dire times or anything. I don't feel that at all. I really feel very strongly that collectively we're heading into a very good place. It's just like with my ayahuasca journey, like it wasn't in the package that I was expecting. I'm like, well,
I
I got
wasn't
what I
thinking this
needed,
was going to happen. Like, well,
but yeah. And so I think we just need to be prepared for certain events that may come, that may bring some pain with it. But in the end, this is what I told my audience. All crisis brings dramatic healing. It is always preceded by a dramatic healing. And so, in order for us to dramatically heal as a planet, we may have to go through a couple of really big crisis
mhm.
points,
Yeah.
and just know that that's a catalyst for very deep and permanent healing for our collective going forward.
Yeah, yeah, I think it brings it back to, where we began with kind of plucking out the root of the problem. Sometimes that's not always pretty, and sometimes it is chaotic, but at the ultimate, it's revealing what needs to be revealed and healing what
Mm-hmm.
needs to be healed. So, is
Mm-hmm.
there anything else burning in you to share? Anything that's been alive? Anything we didn't touch on that really feels, important to you?
Yes, speaking of personal power, because I want everyone to know they are so much more powerful than they ever could
Mhm.
imagine. Um, the more that you work in your own reality to not just heal, but tap into your power. Like, don't be afraid of your power. Understand that your power is just your energy being exerted in different ways than you're used to, and higher ways than you're used to. And one of the things that I was able to do through using my hands. So we're all healers. We've all got the capacity. Like, our hands are very much transmitters and receivers, right? And
Yes.
so while in a medicine journey with mushrooms, about, I don't know, maybe a month or two ago, um, I was guided to bring my hands about like this far apart and to start generating as much energy into the field between my hands. And so I started allowing all the energy from my hands to start building in this space. And as I did, I started to see constellations of stars appear in my hands, and different symbols. And the constellations would come in and then they would leave. And then new constellations would come in and they all start spinning around in my hands. And I'm like, wow, I'm literally seeing the cosmos in my hands. And as soon as I did, I made contact, telepathic contact with a race that I'd never seen before. And very similar to what we see as our more Native American type people here. But they were all gray, black, white, and brown. Now, those were their colors. Very tall, very powerful, chief like warriors, but coming in with deep wisdom and a lot of heart. And they were just communicating with me. And it was like they're very far away. But because of the level of energy that I was able to create in my own hands, I was able to connect in a way that I'd never been able to connect for. And so I say that for everyone to know that literally you have the power in your hands to go so far beyond this planet and what you know is possible if you're willing to explore your own power and your own capacity to build your energy up into levels you didn't even know is possible. The only thing standing in your way is your fear of power. Redefine your relationship with power and know that it does not have to be synonymous with abuse. When you understand that abuse has been put there so that you give your power away and not use it in the way that you were designed to and able to, you will then start to cultivate a higher awareness and capacity to hold the energy that allows you to do so many things far beyond your own ability to understand right now and connect with places so far beyond this galaxy that literally you could change this world with your own hands.
Just like that. And so
Mm-hmm.
we are the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Nicole. That was so beautiful. And I feel our collective power rising in ways maybe it's never had the opportunity to, because in a way the stakes are high and it demands our best. So people can find you at NicoleFrolick.com. Is that right? That's your
Yeah.
website. And you
Yeah.
offer so many different kinds of opportunities for healing and growth. I know the medicine journeys we spoke of, but you also do one-on-one sessions. You want to say a word about that?
I am only working one-on-one with people who want to do deeper transformative
Okay.
journeys in a sense of
Mhm.
working with me with month, 3 month, 6 month plans.
Yeah.
It's just because I only want to do deep, deep transformative work with people now. So
Yeah.
I have a healing break, like a healing game changer that I can kind of help you pinpoint what's going to get you the biggest transformation right now, where you should be focusing your energy. I have that, but then I have a bunch of meditations and some courses. And then, of course, my retreat in
Yeah.
May is already
Okay.
50.
Is that in
Yeah.
Breckenridge in May or
Yeah, it's in, and I just announced it last week and it's already 50% sold out because
awesome?
we had such a dramatic, we had 3 Kundalini activations and awakenings at the last retreat and people's lives were changed. And so, yeah, we've already got an influx of people coming to the next one. But if anyone's looking for that, would love to have
Yes.
you there. Yeah.
Yes. It's beautiful there too. So, well, thank you so much. And myself, Rebecca Rose, you can work with me one-on-one through coaching, healing sessions, just so many ways as well, galactic attunements and readings. And as well, the courses that I'm starting to teach, I will also be at next year, a Super Soldier Activation Conference in Orlando. More to come on that. And signing off with friend and guest Nicole Frolick. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Oh.